All right, number one, so if there is a topic that I have sort of decided not to tackle so far simply because I didn't think I had enough information about is the Epstein files situation. Now, there is clearly a lot that we can do, and there is a lot on X that can be reviewed, including a freaking entire account called the Epstein Files. I'm a little confused. We are here to expose everyone official account for the Epstein Files and Epstein-related news. Seriously. Goodness gracious, man, the Epstein Files has an account. Well, it is what it is. But one thing I want to say is that with this video, I kind of want to try and figure things out together with you, in the sense that I'll share with you what I understand when it comes to the Epstein Files. I'll tell you what my general overall ideas, feelings, and positions are when it comes to the Epstein Files. I will disregard anything the likes of Cenk Yogurt has to say about the Epstein Files, because first he needs to disavow his nephew, Hassan Piker, the Shockman, and second he needs to stop being interested in horses before I can take him seriously. However, whatever I say on this video, whatever we figure out, I'm more than happy to change my mind if you can provide a better perspective. So I'm more than happy to be corrected. I'm here to learn from you and discuss with you. We might watch a few videos, in fact, on this and see some fellow content creators that are not interested in horses to tell us about that. But before we do that, let me tell you what, up to this point, my opinion is when it comes to the Epstein Files. And here it is. Simply put, I think they should be released. I'm in favor of the Epstein Files being released. And personally, I do not care one bit who gets burnt in the process. Now, given, I do think that the Epstein Files should have minimal reduction. In other words, only redact the victims, and that's it, because of course we don't want the names of these victims. Their lives have already been ruined, and so we don't need to add to that. But everything else should not be redacted. And as I say, I don't care who gets burnt down at this point. I think the public deserves to know, particularly if these are people, and the way we understand it, plenty will be, if these are people that we entrusted with positions of authority and positions whereby they were representing the people. So, of course, when it comes to Epstein Files, we need to kind of differentiate between simply the name being there or the name being associated or connected in a condemning manner when it comes to illegal activity, particularly, of course, when it comes to minor, unlawful sex work, prostitution, and all that kind of stuff. Because just because someone's name is in there, it doesn't automatically implicate breaking the law, right? It could perfectly be a situation when someone is talking about someone else. So we'll have to be careful with that. There has to be a thorough investigation. But when it comes to people that actually were involved with the island and all that awful stuff that happened there that really sounds like the plot of a damn movie, then like that level of villains, then anyone who's implicated, let's say that there are some high-profile Democrats that are implicated, burn them down. Destroy their names, destroy their livelihood, and make sure that they pay for it through the full force of the law. Likewise, if there are high-profile Republicans, same thing. Same thing. In fact, it wouldn't make a difference because the crime is the same. Political ideology is different. Who cares? Oh, yeah, but this person is implicated is a Christian. I don't care. Then, I mean, even more so. But they're racist. I don't care. Even more so. So whoever he is. Now, when it comes to extremely high-profile people, so presidents, what if President Biden is implicated? What if President Trump is implicated? Still release to the public. Now, the reason why I don't personally believe that there will be any condemning information when it comes to President Trump specifically is because the Epstein file were in Biden's hand for 4 years. And you know that during that time, President Trump was attacked from every angle, throwing everything, they threw everything they could when it comes to the law, the legal system, everything. And you think they wouldn't have used the Epstein files if they had something that connected him and linked him to provable crimes that would have completely destroyed his ability to run as a president? Not a chance. Unless Biden is also implicated and his family. In which case, then you can't use it, can you? So I think it's one of the two. It's either they don't have anything that can link President Trump directly to illegal practices, or they do, but they couldn't use it because it would burn someone else on their side. So whichever the case is, I don't care. I just want to know the truth. And at this point, for what I could see, I think the idea of pushing them, releasing the files onto the public has been accepted by both the Senate and the House. What if Trump vetoes it? Then I'm going to believe that he's implicated. then I'm going to believe he's directly implicated, or someone that has power over him is implicated and he can't do anything about it. Either way, I'm not going to be okay with that. But I don't think he will. So the next question is going to be the following. I think that they will be released. And as I say, I personally don't think that he will be directly implicated, nor will be the likes of Elon Musk or anything like that. In fact, if anything, I think they've been preparing for this. So do you remember when there was the whole situation between Elon Musk and Trump and they had that fallout? Well, that was clearly orchestrated also because, they were arguing like Trump telling Elon that who wants a Tesla, their cars for women. And then Elon saying, oh, I had, hey, Donald J. Trump, your name is in the Epstein files. Have a good day. And then I think Trump saying that he punched him in the face or something like that. Clearly it was all orchestrated. They were trolling. I don't believe it for a second. They thought about it. I can imagine them like in the background somewhere in a room, in a multi-billionaire room, saying, so I'm going to say this and then you're going to say that and laughing about it. 100% it was not a fall off. However, the reason why they did it, I think, was to start preparing the public for the real fact that President Trump's name is indeed in the files. So once they have done that, which they did, the next thing then that the public is going to expect, because the public has already got used to that idea, his name is on the files. So the next thing is that when these files are released, if there is nothing that implicates Donald Trump, the only shock factor that Trump's enemies could have had would have been, right, we can't implicate it, but his name was on the files, but that's already been told to the public, and so the public has already digested it. It was a strategic move, is what I think. Either he didn't do anything illegal in there, or if he did, there is nothing that can implicate it. So you can't prove it. And the reason why I think it's one of these, it's because otherwise they would have used it against him. And at least that's my thought of it. Subscribe. And honestly, with how much they wanted Kamala Harris to become president, I personally think that the Democratic Party would have been okay with burning Biden to the ground just to get Trump. Imagine what a move. Like, even if it meant, oh, he's also implicated, so bye-bye, Biden is gone, but they got rid of him anyways. Guy couldn't even talk and walk anymore, and they got rid of him. So, politically. So at that point, it would have been like sacrificing a pawn for a queen on the other side. Then who would have run? It would have been the vice president, but by then the vice president wasn't ready. Whereas now it's different. I think he's building rapport with the voter base. And eventually I think he will be a really strong candidate. Definitely better than Trump's son. I don't think he's a good candidate personally. But at the time, and so quickly, in the midst of a scandal like that, there is no way. That's just me, but there is no way they wouldn't have used such a move. The left would have won the elections. They would have won the popular vote if they could do that. And they had the power to do it. Yet they didn't do it. That tells me something, strategically speaking. Do we have any more news on the Epstein files? Latest Epstein news, let's see. On July, so House Republicans block Democrat push for Epstein document release. Oh, this is July. What the heck? Judge seeks to shield Epstein victims after dozens of names exposed in documents. Yeah, 1 day ago, that's what you should do. Shield the victims. That's the one thing that I'll say redact. House.gov. Let's see. Oversight Committee releases additional Epstein estate documents. Washington, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform releases an additional 20,000 pages of documents received from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. The documents can be found here. Okay, that's good, but we need all of them. Still, it's good that they are releasing them. And again, people also have to understand that they can't just release everything with one hit because some information has to be redacted. It's just the real question is, someone needs to make sure that the information redacted is the information that should be redacted. Images, apparently? Okay, yeah. Yeah, you see, so this takes time. Now, given, it shouldn't take as long as they claim it does, because, Control F. Even if you can't do Control F, okay, fine. But I'm saying, like, it's time consuming. I can understand that. Like, remove the faces. This is basically what we are talking about when we are saying we understand it takes time. But this has been in the hands of the government for a very, very, very long time. Under the Biden administration, people keep forgetting about the anti-Trump rhetoric. Keeps forgetting that part, and the pro-Trump at all costs rhetoric are those that are like, no, we shouldn't really release it. But that's really a minority at this point, because I think most people want this stuff public. Am I right? That's the reality of it. Unless you are what's the name of that Republican senator? 1 second. Yeah, it was it was House Speaker Mike Johnson. Man, I don't know what it is. Mike Johnson is one of those that every time he opens his mouth, not every time, but a lot of the times when he says something, I'm like, no, man. He's one of those Republicans that I strongly disagree with a lot of the times.
All right, some breaking news.
Let's see.
For you right now, House Speaker Mike Johnson discussing the vote on the Epstein files. Let's listen.
Use the people that I wanted to come in this morning and just clearly explain for the people back home how we got here and why this vote is happening right now. First, a quick review of the relevant history here. For 4 long years under the previous administration, under the Biden-Harris administration, Democrats insisted there was no border crisis. Remember, they told you that that wasn't a problem at all. They dismissed
I agree with you, but I think we should speak about the Epstein files.
inflation as transitory. That's what they told us. They told the American people not to believe what we could all see with our own eyes, that there was an obvious mental and physical decline on the part of President Biden individually.
Right.
And now, seemingly overnight, these same cast of characters, they've taken a sudden and urgent interest in the Epstein investigation. Suddenly, it's all in the name of transparency. That's what they're trying to tell us. But the truth...
This isn't a matter of, see, that's what I mean. Epstein files is not a matter of right versus left. It's the one thing most of us agree on. Don't make it right versus left. Release.
The truth is, the biggest proponents of this discharge petition were never actually interested in transparency or ensuring justice or protecting victims of this unspeakable tragedy, the Epstein evils. And how do we know that? Because the Democrats had every one of the Epstein files in their possession for the 4 long years of the Biden administration.
Correct.
The Biden Department of Justice had the files the entire time. And not a single one of the people who are so loud and animated right now, they never said anything about it for all those 4 years. Right. None of them held press conferences. None of them demanded the release of the documents. And under Biden's DOJ, when they prosecuted...
I mean, I say right, but I'll have to double check that, to be honest.
Just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, not a single one of these Democrats or any...
I mean, maybe there were Democrats who spoke about this, but regardless, I understand his point. His point is valid. Under Biden, they didn't do shit. Okay, fine. Release them.
The proponents of the discharge ever made any noise about that at all. So it's fair for the American people to ask the question, why now? Why suddenly are they so interested? They have such an urgent interest in the Jeffrey Epstein matter.
I'll tell you why now. Why now is because it was one of the major talking points, maybe not the major talking point, but it was definitely one of the talking points of the Trump administration. And Pam Bondi, which is another one that I don't like on the Republican side, told us they were on their desk. So that's why now. Guys, this isn't left and right. It's show us the Epstein files. It's good versus evil at this point when it comes to that island and whoever it was involved.
The truth is simple and straightforward and obvious for anyone who is willing to look at it objectively. Clearly, this is a political exercise for Democrats and a few others, sadly, and it is as deceitful and dishonest as their pointless stunt to shut down the government. Same ideology behind this. Democrats are trying to use the Epstein matter as a political weapon to distract from their own party's failures. And in a desperate attempt, they're trying to somehow tie President Trump to the scandal. President Trump has nothing to do with it.
Great. So if he has nothing to do with it, he shouldn't have anything against releasing it. And in fact, I think he did sign it. At this point, I'd rather take Trump signing it than you telling us blah, 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 but not showing. I've heard that there was like an interview to one of the victims, and she said that Trump didn't do anything to her, didn't touch her or anything. Well, good, great. But if he did, that's a big deal. And of course, there's going to be plenty of Democrats who are also in the high elite of the Democratic Party that are going to be involved in this. Good. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but it doesn't matter at this point. Got nothing to hide, show it.
He has said himself he has nothing to hide.
Great.
And
good.
And that's
good for him.
Clearly what they've been trying to do. They're trying to attack President Trump. This is what they've done. They weaponized the justice system over the last several years to go after him, and this is their latest attempt. And they don't have a platform or a principle to defend on the Democrat Party side. So they put all their eggs in this basket. And that's why you hear endlessly about Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. Everything's about Epstein. Now, this was an unspeakable tragedy, we said that. And we have great compassion for the victims. And I'm
Yes.
heartened that I met with the victims. Our House Oversight Committee members met with the victims, and they deserve justice. It has been too long delayed.
Right.
Not just justice for what they were made to endure, but also we need answers on why it took so long for the Department of Justice itself to do that job.
So I agree with this point. So the natural continuation of this point is not to focus on, oh, but this is it's just an attack on Trump, but it's so here are the files. Got nothing to hide. And if some of us are burnt, good, burn them. This is how you do it.
Under previous leadership. Republicans, meanwhile, are working in earnest to deliver transparency to the American people, and we're working to do that in a responsible manner that does no further harm to these innocent people and the
Of
victims
course.
who have been
Yes.
wrapped into this.
Yeah.
There are a few key facts here that everybody needs to understand. First, I mentioned the House Oversight Committee doing its work. That is a bipartisan effort. They are already producing far more than the discharge petition even anticipates. Chairman Comer is our chair of oversight. Some of the biggest bulldogs in Congress serve on that committee, you all know, and I've mentioned this so many times. They have been, on the Republican and Democrat side, they're deeply dug in. They've been working
Yes.
around the clock. They worked even through the government shutdown, and there were tranches of documents that were released even over that period. So far, by last count, it's over 65,000 documents, Epstein file documents, that are now out in the public for everyone to review. That includes tens of thousands of pages from the Epstein estate. And that includes Epstein's flight logs, his personal financial records and ledgers,
Good.
his daily calendars, and so much more. And none of that is even written or included in the discharge petition. So in other words, the Oversight Committee is doing far more than the discharge even anticipates, and the most valuable information thus far has come from the Epstein estate files. That was produced because of the work of the Oversight Committee that is doing that in a professional, robust manner, using the full subpoena authority of the U.S. Congress. From the very beginning, our side has been insistent that this matter must be handled very carefully and with utmost caution and care for the victims.
Of course.
We want maximum transparency. We have always been about that. We want every single person who had any scintilla of evidence
Now you're
that they were involved in the Epstein evils, they need to be brought to justice. And it should have been done a long time ago.
Yes.
We need to find out who those people are. But in the meantime, you have to remember there are real people's, innocent people's lives at stake here. And young victims who don't want to be dragged into this political game because it could hurt further what they've already endured. They would be made to suffer more harm.
Of course.
If Congress is not careful in what we're doing. And unlike our very important work that's underway in the House Service,
I imagine that if they do make a mistake and they release even a single page that could, say, compromise the identity or privacy of one of the victims, they could sue. I'm pretty sure that they could sue. And if this happens with multiple people, it could lead to a class action lawsuit. So that part I do understand.
Oversight Committee, the Democrat-led discharge petition would carelessly dump thousands of documents without proper protections for the innocent. I brought a chart in here this morning. I want to illustrate for you what...
I want to ask you guys, because I don't know this, and I don't want to just say something. You know, I can't stand progressive politics, but with that being said, is it true? What are the Democratic leading voices on the Democratic Party? Are they actually saying... Because I don't believe just because he says it, okay? So now he's saying, well, the Democrats just don't want to redact any names. They just want the pages out. Is this real? You'll tell me. Because I'm interested to know if it is real, then they're out of their mind. But if he's mischaracterizing them, and the reality is that also the leading voices in the Democratic Party, they agree that they want this to be done, and they are annoyed by, Pam Bondi changing a story like overnight, which I would agree with. I would sympathize with that annoying feeling. But they agree with this, then he's mischaracterizing them. So that's important to underline, because a line of attack politically is only as strong as it can be coherently verified with data analysis. So is it real or is it not? Because if it's not, his line of attack is nothing.
We are concerned with. Now, I was a federal court litigator. The members of our House Judiciary Committee, Republicans in particular, have many of these concerns. You have Chairman Jim Jordan and attorneys like Chip Roy, who's running for Attorney General of Texas now. You have Brad Knott, who's a former federal prosecutor, many members on the committee. Andy Biggs is running for governor of Arizona. They're lawyers, and they understand that the way the discharge petition was drafted is haphazard and dangerous. This is why we have been opposed to this point, okay?
Well, maybe you should have so I agree with this. Maybe you should have made it clearer, though, that was the reason why you were opposed to releasing them right now, not to releasing them after amendment. That's an important line that I would say, because people got confused on the Republican side. A lot of the conservative elements of the voter base were actually really, really confused when it comes to the Epstein files. So transparency in modus operandi and the way you were going to do this would have helped a long way into ensuring that within the right wing and the center, people wouldn't feel like, what's going on? Are we getting gaslit? Why aren't you releasing the files? So you should have explained this. You should have started with this, is what I would say, rather than... And again, I would ditch, in this particular predicament, I would ditch left versus right when it comes to this. As he himself said, it can be bipartisan. It should be bipartisan. And so that's that. In fact, if we check CNN, we'll see that that's exactly where they're going. The political danger of the Epstein files for Trump. You know what? Control F. Trump. How many times did they say Trump? 52 times. 52 times they say Trump on this article. Goodness gracious. Not only Trump, though, I don't think. And then again, if it is Trump, if Trump is involved in anything sexual, burn him to the ground at that point. But I don't believe he is, personally. And the reason why I don't believe he is, I've already explained it before. But why are you only focusing on him? CNN? If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth.